Hi, welcome to AgriBusiness Global Report. My name is Lauren Milligan, and I'll be talking with Jim DeLisi, Chief of Fanwood Chemical. Today, Jim will be giving us an update on Annex II revisions issued last Friday and other tariff updates. I'd like to start off with my first question. Can you tell us about the Annex II revisions issued last Friday and their meaning?
Yes, it was a complete shocker. On late Friday afternoon, early Friday evening, the president signed a proclamation updating the Annex II list. Frankly, I had just worked on writing my monthly update and said there were no changes, and then all of a sudden it happened. Surprisingly, there are 3 agrochemicals that got added to the new update. These would be AIs, triflumazole, difluorbenzuron, and cymoxamil. Why they got added? Nobody knows. Who requested them? Nobody knows. This whole process is a mystery. The one thing, though, that's pretty clear from some of the additions, there will be posted on the AgriBusiness Global website shortly the new Annex II, and attached to it is a thing called Annex III. Now, Annex III does not kick in until there is an actual trade deal signed with a country. But when you see that, it will be clear that Pharma, the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association, must have had significant input because there are an enormous number of products that are listed as Pharma. The intention is that once an agreement is signed, that those materials will be exempt from reciprocity, but only if used for pharmaceuticals. And I got to tell you, I've been at this a long time. I have no idea how customs is going to enforce separate tariffs for an identical product for separate industries. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens once it really kicks in, which probably won't be for at least a couple of months because there are no actual signed agreements, reciprocity agreements between the United States and any countries. The one that is likely first will be the European Union. Though there is some issues in the European Union because what they agreed to with President Trump is not WTO compliant. And there's some folks in Europe that want to they want to adjust it to make it compliant. So we're not done yet, or probably a long way off. But everybody needs to review that revised list of reciprocity, especially as it refers to India.
Speaking of India, I would like to talk about India tariffs. What do those mean for the future of active ingredients?
That's a very complicated issue because when we do, and most of you have probably seen that the spreadsheets that we prepare on this, we prepare them in separate columns for each of the individual tariffs that Mr. Trump has put in. And so in the case of India, it used to just be the 10% reciprocity and the base tariff. Now you've got a 25% reciprocity tariff, and you've got a 25% tariff that's related to Russia oil imports. And in our opinion, Mr. Trump really does categorize things very, very carefully so that you have to look at those as 3 separate lines in any spreadsheet you prepare, because the Russia tariffs could go up, go down, could disappear. The same thing with the reciprocity tariffs. They could change. Now, if we were having this discussion 3 days ago, my opinion would have been that there's not going to be many changes. But as of yesterday or the day before, they announced that the negotiations with India for a full-fledged free trade agreement, while they're not fully back on track, they're back to talking, so that there may be something that goes on with a broader agreement with India that will impact the reciprocity tariffs. The Russia tariffs, as many of you will know, Russia's been blasting Ukraine with increased vigor over the last few days. Mr. Trump has promised a response, and with more sanctions on Russia, that likely means that the Russian oil tariff on India could go up. China could get hit with a Russia oil tariff. Turkey and Brazil are probably the key candidates to get increased tariffs based on the way Russia is bombing Ukraine right now. But until an actual decision comes out of Washington, it's pure speculation. So just watch out for the news for the president announcing new tariffs on because of Russia's war against the Ukraine.
Now, what about the Supreme Court's fast track of the tariff case and the expected outcomes?
Well, that's a fascinating turn. Once the appeals court ruled, the Supreme Court had three choices, and frankly, they probably picked the best one. The one, or for anybody that's really opposed to the tariffs, the best one would have been to just sustain the appeals court, but that would have been a very, very difficult thing for the Supreme Court to do. So the third option, which thankfully they did not take, would have been to take the case into their normal docket, which would have meant you would have had arguments before the Supreme Court in January, February, March, one of those months as a normal time frame, and then a decision in June or July of next year. What they've done is they've taken it on an expedited basis with arguments scheduled to begin in a couple of weeks. It is likely we will have a decision before the end of the year. So we've got the best of all circumstances that you could hope for at this point, in that we're going to have quick arguments and a quick decision, albeit on the Supreme Court schedule, so that we will have a ruling, as I say, hopefully before the 1st of January, that says that the tariffs are either legal or illegal. I think, in my opinion, and I am not an attorney, that the Supreme Court will rule against the administration. It would cover all of the tariffs that were on fentanyl and all the reciprocity tariffs. The 301 and the 232, which just whacked copper, would not be impacted. But the reciprocity and the fentanyl tariffs would be. And Secretary Besson, I think on one of the Sunday shows or someplace last weekend, acknowledged that if the case goes down, they're likely going to have to talk about refunds, which will be interesting to see how they do it, because it's billions of dollars that will be coming back, a lot of it to agrochemical companies. So make sure you keep your records in hand, because you can bet with that much money and the Treasury and the condition it's in, they're going to make you jump through some hoops to get your refund. But watch this space. We will be watching very closely on how the arguments go before the Supreme Court, because hopefully the judges will be interactive with the Attorney General's office, so that we'll get some feeling early on for how the Supreme Court's going to go.
Very good. Thank you so much, Jim, for your time. It's been great having you here. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you back in the next 2 weeks for another update.